U.S. officials says at least 3 American service members died today in a shooting in Jordan. We're told the troops were in vehicles approaching the gate of a Jordanian military training facility when they came under small arms fire. 1 was killed initially, 2 others died at a hospital. Every member of our fighting force needs to know what is and what isn't allowed on the battlefield. But these questions can get tricky when you fight an enemy that makes every place a battlefield. In tonight's How We Fight report, a look at the rules of engagement our military fights under. Are they too restrictive, making the mission more difficult and dangerous? Or are they a necessary part of fighting this war? February 2010. Coalition troops begin massing on the outskirts of Marja, a Taliban stronghold.
Rely on your brother.
Major Matt Golsteyn, a Green Beret officer during the operation, linked up with a detachment of U.S. Marines.
By that time, I had gotten very close with its platoon leader.
That was Captain Michael Berry, who quickly grew to admire Golsteyn.
I mean, you could tell he was a good leader.
This will be the biggest operation of the Afghan surge.
Get in the compound and not do anything.
It was the most intense experience I've ever had.
While clearing an area after a firefight, some Marines attempted to open a sliding metal door.
All hell breaks loose, a big, huge explosion. You can hear people screaming. 3
Marines were injured and 2 were killed.
They had set off a device when they moved open the door. I could see the life leaving Lance Corporal Johnson. It blew Sergeant McQuarrie maybe, I don't know, 20 feet out into the open.
Golsteyn talked about it that night with Berry.
The only thing he was saying is that, we're going to get this guy, and that was it.
Captain Berry and Major Golsteyn dug for intel, meeting with tribal leaders. Did you find the suspected Taliban bomb maker?
We did capture a fighter, and then ID material, weapons. We recovered radios, the small ICOM radios that the Taliban were using, so quite a bit of material.
But at the time, you think this is the guy?
Yeah, absolutely.
After he was detained, the suspected bomb maker refused to speak to investigators. Because of strict rules of engagement, they were ordered to release him.
You can construe it as a law enforcement mindset. There's limits on how long you can hold guys.
So we would pull these guys out. We'd say, clearly these are enemy combatants, these are Taliban, these are bad dudes. We'd pull them out, but we wouldn't have any place to hold them. So eventually we'd let them back, and they would cause terror to the community again.
Right. In fact, you realize quickly you make things worse. It is an inevitable outcome that people who are cooperating with coalition forces, when identified, will suffer some terrible torture or be killed.
Shortly after releasing the Taliban detainee, Golsteyn took matters into his own hands. Did you kill the Taliban bomb maker?
Yes.
Years later, he started talking about his attack on the bomb maker in a job interview with the CIA. You willingly offered up these details.
Right.
At the CIA, right?
That's correct.
And that's where it all started.
Pretty much.
Golsteyn, who had received a Silver Star for valor in Afghanistan, now found himself accused of murder and conspiracy. What followed was the Army's version of a thorough police investigation.
I told the Army CID investigator, I don't know anything, I don't remember anything.
I never begrudged investigators or even my commanders for doing an investigation. If they're concerned about my judgment or my behavior, then I would expect that they would look into it.
Ultimately, after a review by a military tribunal, no charges were filed. But Golsteyn was removed from the Special Forces. His Silver Star was taken away, and he was denied a position at the CIA. What is it like going from war hero to accused war criminal? Are you angry?
No. It has been incredibly painful and very difficult. Over the last years, everyone who served with me stood by me, and so it's over, and it's time to move on.
If this was 1944 or 45, he would have gotten a medal for it. It can't all be sugary sweet. We can't operate like the local police department here, but it's kind of like that's what they wanted.
Berry is not alone in his view. Many of the higher-ups feel, in general, there's been too much micromanagement in the war on terror.
These are people who really want to do the mission.
Democrat Leon Panetta was President Obama's second defense secretary.
The more you try to impose restrictions as to how they're able to fulfill their mission, the more you guarantee failure of that mission.
Barry and Golsteyn are now far from the battle. But the story of Afghanistan, of course, is far from over. As of January this year, the Taliban are back in control of Marja and surrounding areas.
The Taliban has reestablished a degree of momentum. That momentum was broken and actually reversed during the surge in Afghanistan, which of course I was privileged to command for a bit over a year.
Retired General David Petraeus notes in recent years, the Obama administration has loosened some of the rules of engagement.
I was pleased to see the relaxation of some of the restrictions on the use of our air power, advisors and special operations forces. I'm not sure it's enough yet, though, and I have concerns that we may have drawn down too fast there, that we don't have enough capability, and that we are still perhaps restricting some of this in ways that are unhelpful.
Meanwhile, men who fought in Afghanistan wonder if those in charge really understand how things work on the ground.
The mood for myself and among many of my peers is that no, we do not have that support. My part of the bargain is that I act in good faith. I'm upholding the trust invested in me to take into account all of my mission, the rules, in the context I'm trying to apply them in, and do that to the best of my ability. Their part of the bargain is that you don't come in after the fact with different information, with knowing the outcome, and say, we didn't like it.
I lost two people. There isn't anything that's going to make it even. Sergeant McQuarrie and Lance Corporal Johnson always did their job, always in good spirits, always focused. Because somebody's fulfilling your decision, so you better make sure that it's a good order that you give them. You better make sure that it's the proper order and everything else, because if it's not, you're the one that's going to have to live with that.
Tomorrow, on a special Saturday edition of Special Report, the How We Fight series continues. We examine the Iran deal and how foreign policy affects our military.